Hello everyone. In this tutorial I will be covering how to transform your sketch of your cityscape into a more finished digital painting. And so this was what I completed in the last tutorial. And what I've done is I've actually gotten rid of all my other layers that I did not need. They had other sketches on them. So I have a sketch layer and I have my background layer. Okay, now let me go over, and we always, before we begin refining here, we should always check the image size. So in case you've photographed your sketch with your camera phone or you've used cam scanner, you should always come in here, and the first thing you should always check is your resolution. And so my resolution is set at 300. This is what we want. We want to make sure our height and width is good. So 9 by 7 is not a bad size. Now I don't have any size requirements for this project, but you want to make sure it's large enough, okay? You don't want to be doing a tiny little painting. Also, you want to make sure that, whatever you want to use this for later on. Sometimes I'll actually increase the size, as I've said before. Sometimes I like to have the size up over, 14, maybe 18 inches, just in case I'm actually going to print this out and make a poster out of it. But anyway, let's continue on. All right, so the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to fix and make sure, well, first we're going to need to actually check our perspective and make sure it's correct. And mind you, I had just sketched this out. I didn't use any guides to help me with my perspective. This is all just freehand. So first thing we're going to need to do is you need to go to your assignment sheet in the Brightspace class. And in this assignment sheet, it's P2 Cityscape, and it's going to be in week 3 in our learning path. You're going to find in the links, you found that I went over the Pinterest link last time. This time we're going over this freddyart.com quick tools. If you click that link or copy and paste it into your address bar, it will take you here. Okay? So this is a comic book artist named Freddie Williams, and he does some incredible art, but he's actually put these tools up. Now, a lot of my students will I've been using this for years, and some people, they start looking at the prices, they don't realize, oh, you need to go and check for the free perspective path tool, and that's the key. It's free, all right? So anyway, let me click on this. And it will take you to this page. And on this page, it'll tell you create fast and precise perspective grids in Photoshop with free tool. Okay, so you want to right-click this. He does a video, and I've watched his video several times because when I first watched it, I was so excited, I forgot a lot of it. And it's a very short video. But anyway, I'm going to be covering what he goes over. And just in case you're having a hard time understanding, you can always go to the source. So anyway, let's continue on. I'm going to close this up. And when you download it, you'll get a file like this. It'll be a tiny little file saying F. Williams Perspective Path. We're going to open this up. And it says go to your paths tool. So let's go to our paths here, okay? And we're going to click on it. And you will notice that all these paths pop up, okay, that are going to a vanishing point. All right, so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to click on this, and you need to have it set up so that this document is open, and also your sketch document is open. All right, and we want the perspective path document on top, or at least to be selected, so that the perspective paths are here. And I'm just going to click and drag this into my document. Okay, that's how we get these perspective paths in here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the F key, because what that will do is it will go to full screen mode there, and I'm going to zoom out here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reposition the vanishing point. Okay, now the only way we can move this is by using the transform tool, which is Command T or Control T if you're on PC. All right, because this is the only way we can move all these paths at once. And so I'm going to move this off here, because I've done this so many times. I know where they go, and you begin to see how these paths are aligning with my drawing. You can see like areas that are pretty correct and other areas that need correcting. Okay, so I'm going to actually enlarge this just a little bit, and so I'm just going to hold down my Alt key and enlarge, because in these newer versions of Photoshop, you don't have to hold down the Shift key, because if you do, it'll distort it. So anyway, and let's just reposition it a little bit more perhaps, and just see, what's the best position for this vanishing point. Okay, I'm gonna pull it out. Maybe, let's see here. I'm just playing around here. There we go. Oh, look at that. See, that really helped, because I'm looking at this building right here, because all these lines correspond very well, and now these lines correspond with this vanishing point much better. Okay, once we're done, we need to check. We need to click the check, or we need to just hit return. All right, or hit enter. Okay, now what is happening here is this. These are paths. When we click off of them, they disappear. Okay, we need to stroke these, and we need to make a new layer. But before I do that, I'm going to set my palettes up so that it'll be a little easier for me to work in this tutorial. So let's pull this over, and we're going to dock it if we can. There we go. I'm going to dock it over here. There we go. You don't have to do this, but I'm doing this because this will make it much easier and faster for me to work. All right, so first thing we're going to need to do is we need to make sure we're on our brush tool. All right, and B is the keyboard shortcut for brush. And then we want to get a hard round brush. All right. Now what I've done is, well, right now I'm not on a layer, so let's make a new layer. We're going to make a new layer because we're going to stroke these not on the sketch layer, but on a different layer here, and we're going to name this layer right, because this is the right vanishing point. This is the right side here. Okay, right guides. Okay, sometimes I'll call it right perspective, but this will be a little shorter. Okay, there we go. Now, what we're going to do is go back to our brush tool here. Make sure it's on. I have this set for 6. I was doing this a later version of Photoshop, or that is the latest, and I needed it at 8 just because of how it was drawing it. So anyway, you may need to just, once we have this, and you have your color, you have your brush size, you just want to click this button right here. Stroke path with brush. So it's going to be stroking these paths with this color on that layer. And that is key here, because we want to make sure we're on the right layer. You don't want to be stroking them so that they're on a different layer, or on the sketch layer, because we want to be able to turn these off and on. All right, very good. Okay, now, let me get back here. So now we need to do the other vanishing point, because this drawing here is using 2-point perspective. Now, if you have a drawing that has 3-point perspective, you're going to have to move these and stroke them 3 times, okay? But let's make a new layer here. I'm going to title this layer Left Guides. And we're going to move the vanishing point again, okay? So let's click on the perspective here, the perspective paths. Do Command-T, okay? And we're going to drag this way over here, way over here, okay? And it needs to be way off the page, because if you remember your lessons in advanced drawing, if your vanishing points are really close to your page, then you get this distorted fisheye lens look to your perspective drawings. Anyway, this is way over, and now we're just going to hold down the Alt key and enlarge this, okay? And fortunately, I'm looking at it, and it looks like it's pretty much on the money on some of these lines, but I think we're going to need to pull it down a little bit here, yeah, just so that corresponds a little bit better, okay? Now, we don't have to have these paths on every line, because when we're just using these as a guide, as a template, okay? Because, even though the paths don't line up with this building right here, I can at least see the direction they need to go in, okay? So I'm going to hit return, all right? And then we're going to go and we're going to change our color here. So I'm going to go to our foreground color. We're going to change it to, let's say, red, okay? Since we used blue the last time, we want a darker red. Okay, and then you can color these any color you want. You just want, it's important to have them two different colors though, because otherwise it gets very confusing to look at. So once we have that set up, then we just hit this button again. Okay, this is on the paths palette. It says stroke path with brush. Okay, and we got to make sure we're on the right layer. So it's going to stroke this. I'm actually crossing my fingers here because I've had to do this video several times. It was crashing on me with the latest version of Photoshop and QuickTime. There was some kind of conflict there. So let's click off this, and there we go. We got our guides. Okay, now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be correcting our drawing. So we're going to make another layer on top of these guides, and this is where we're going to do our drawing at. But we need to fade back our sketch layer, okay? So I'm going to take that and lower the opacity so it's really low, but we want to be able to still see it, okay? The guides, since they're on their own layers, if we need to lower them too, we can always lower the opacity on those, okay? And so first thing we're going to do is we're going to start redrawing this, and we're going to use up under this rectangle tool here, you'll find the line tool, okay? And we want to set the line tool to pixels. Okay? And we're just going to use black. And right now it's 1 point or 1 pixel. We'll make that up to, let's say, 6. And we'll hit return. Okay? Now, let's start drawing. And let's start with this right here. Okay? So we'll start here. And we're just going to be correcting and making the drawing better. Okay? And oh, I'm on the left guide layer. I need to be on layer 1. That's so key here. You know, you want to make sure you are on this top layer here, or at least a layer that is not on the same layer as your guides. Okay, so we're going to, there we go. That looks better. Okay, now, I didn't set up any guides for any of my vertical lines, but what we can do is, if we do Command R, I'll bring up our rulers, and we can always just click and drag over guides. Okay, now if you're drawing is in 3-point perspective, then you're going to have to move the perspective paths, and you're going to have to restroke them and make a new layer, okay? And I just wanted to keep this simple, so I have it 2-point. And you'll just have to choose a different color too when you stroke it. So I'm pulling out all these guides to help me with my drawing here for anything that is going vertically, and we can make improvements to the drawing, so things we might have to move these guides, but I'm just pulling them all over right now to make my life a little easier. Okay, and I'm looking at every single line that I've drawn here, or shape here, because most of this is all in shape. Okay, so let's get this right here. And then we got these background buildings. This will be for this building. Okay, this will be for this one. There we go. Okay, I've almost got them all in here. Okay, and the other thing too is, since I'm using an earlier version of Photoshop, not the latest, the color to the guides is hard to see, so I'm actually going to have to make a change here. So we're going to go to our preferences here. We're going to guides, grid, and slices. And let's see here. We're going to look for our smart guides. All right, custom guides. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Canvas. So let's turn this to light blue here. There we go. That changes that. So it's going to be so much easier to see. Now, we could change that to any color we want to, by the way. If we wanted to make these like a darker green or something, we could do that. Okay, I'm going to do that for the moment. I'm going to click OK, and click OK. All right, so now we can see everything. So now, let's continue drawing. And I'm going to draw this line here. And anytime you're drawing a line that is not, and you don't have a guide there to help you out with, you just got to make sure it's parallel to the other to the other guides, okay? And so we're going to go along here, and this doesn't take too long. You know, we're going to create a line drawing. And so I'm just pulling this over here. You want to make sure. See this? I was going to go over there, but see, I want to make sure that this is parallel to the guide that's closest to us. Okay. Now I don't have to do all of this because I actually have one that I've already finished, and we'll bring that up in just a moment. But as you can see here, you know, this gets pretty easy. Now I've got my left guides on. I don't have my other guides on. So, and right now I want to pull one more guide over for this, perhaps. Yeah, right now that's on snap. So let's go up here. Sometimes, yeah, let's take snap off because that makes it a lot tougher when you're trying to do things and it's snapping too close here. But what I'm going to need to do is let me draw this line here, as I'm going to have to pull up my other. And we're going to actually extend that out a little bit, right? We'll zoom in a little bit so you can see better, okay? And we'll go back to our line tool, which is U. It's a keyboard shortcut for that, for any tools in there. And I'm not even using the guide. I'm just going to hold down my shift key and go up, okay? And then we just want to make sure this is parallel to this guide right here. Can always undo if you've done it wrong there. Okay, there we go. Now let's bring up our other guys. Here's the right guides. Okay, and they're a little too dark. So that's the great thing about having these guides on different layers, is that we can lower that. We can also turn off our left guide if we need to. And what we're trying to do is we're going to actually, you know, draw this little part of this structure here. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer here. This is what happens when you switch around here. We want to make sure we're on layer 1. That's okay, and we want to make sure these are parallel to these guides here for this structure that we're drawing out here, which is kind of the top part of this pedestal. Okay, now I don't have a guide here for this, so I'm just going to hold down the shift key. All right, do another one here. This one's for that one. This is for this one. Okay, let's bring up our left guide here. And mind you, we want to make sure that this is parallel. Okay, right there we go. Now let's continue on. I'm going to do a few more lines here. We're just going to keep doing this for a little bit. Now I don't want to draw the whole thing out, but what I want to do is troubleshoot anything that you may run into. Okay, and let me see here. Might as well do this background building. There we go. Now, drawing with this line tool makes it so much quicker than if you're using your brush. Because if you're using your brush, you're having to click and then hold down the shift key and click again. And that takes time. Right? I don't have a guide for this, but let's hold down our shift key and go straight down. There we go. Now, I'm going to go straight through here because I want to talk about, you know, erasing, because this is just a drawing. And we're going to be having to do some correcting to it. So let's continue drawing this. I'm going to show you, you know, about cleaning things up if you need to, if they're not lined up well. And again, I don't have a guide for that, so I'm just going to draw that in there. Let's go across this way. So I'm drawing the roof here of this building. And see, my perspective was off on that. Not by much, but enough that it needs to be corrected. And that's why it's so key to do all this correcting here. There we go. All right. And then we're going to go probably, let's see here. This will be for the roof where it connects. Okay. And then we go this way. And like I said, if the lines get confusing, you can work only on your, and we just got to make sure that's parallel there. Okay. You could work only with one set of guides and draw all those lines and then go back. But I'm just kind of mixing it up right here. All right, so we'll go down here. Anyway, let's continue. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about erasing here, okay? So let's turn off our guides and see what we've got drawn here, okay? So anytime because sometimes you're going to have to clean things up, I'm going to hide my other real guides here. by doing command semicolon there, and that will hide that. Now, this is just a drawing, okay? Um, I'm going to just erase out anything that did not. Make sure we switch to our eraser here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, this drawing, not unless you're going to use the drawing in the end. I prefer just to have my drawing done with my illustration with no lines. So if you're going to be using these lines, you want to make sure they're perfect, but mine are just going to be used for this drawing, okay? And this is going to be our cleaner drawing, and then we're going to build all our shapes. All right, so anyway, let me go to my finished version here. All right, so let me just erase this part here, but let's go to my finished version. We can erase things out, and we can keep doing this, but let me hit the F key again. We'll cycle through so that we can actually. Whoops, I hit that one too many times. There we go. And let's bring up my finished drawing. We won't need this open anymore. So let's go to my folder here, and this is my cityscape drawing that I completed. All right, there we go. So here's my sketch. Here's my drawing. Okay, and you can see like there's some issues with the drawing here and there, but if I wanted to clean that up, I could very easily do that with the eraser tool and fix things. But what I'm going to use this for is I'm going to start to build shapes. Okay, and so the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to get my pen tool. We're going to make a new layer here, okay? And this layer is going to be underneath here. So this will be, we'll tile this layer drawing. I didn't even have these titled here, and these are probably different colors anyway. So this is going to be our right guide. Okay, this is going to be my left guide. I don't think we'll be using these, but this is just how I am. In case we need them, we'll have them all labeled because it's important to kind of keep, because once you start creating all these layers, it's very important. And so this will be for our front buildings. There we go. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to get our pen tool, and here it is. And this works very much just like Illustrator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing. And we can draw through here. So I'm just going to kind of draw through because we're going to build the wall and overlap it on another layer. Okay, we're going to zoom in here. And see that did a very well job. Now, here's the deal. We can also just lower the opacity on this drawing layer. There we go. And I'm going to first. All right, so what I want to do is I want to create this side here. And I want to make sure that my lines correspond. And I see a lot of people drawing and their lines don't correspond. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select this line with this direct selection tool, okay? And we're going to click off of the shape for a second and click on it here. And then we're going to go Command C, Command V. Okay? So what that's done is, whoops. That's actually made another thing here, but I might need to send that to the back if it will actually cooperate. All right, so let's see here. We're send to back. Yeah, it didn't do it. But anyway, if I can get to that point, that's the most important thing. All right, so let's see if I can get to that point. All right, so I've got my pen tool, and I'm going to click here and see. Okay, so it did hook up on that, even though that other path is overlapping it. And we're just going to cut straight through here and go back here. Now, you can always go back and correct things. So I'm going to correct this here, okay? Now, let's go up here and work on this part here. So anytime I'm working here, let's just go and do this top part first. Hold down my shift key so that's straight up and down. We go all the way out here. And there's still room to improve the drawing as we're doing this. Okay? And so if I'm going to make sure that this line corresponds, we'll do the same thing. Command-C and Command-V, and that will paste that one line. And then when I get the pen tool, you'll see that it changes, so it lets me know that I'm on it, and so it will be clicking on that point. All right? Bring that over here. That over here. Okay, now, I just need this other structure here. Oops, I hit something that's bringing up one of my filters. I always end up doing that by mistake because I'm used to, what it is I probably hit Shift Command A because that is the keyboard shortcut in Illustrator to deselect. So if you're going to deselect any of your lines, you got to do this. Okay. So anyway, what I wanted to do is I just need to actually build another shape here, and we could use some of these already, but I'm going to get in here really close here. And we're going to go from here to here, okay? Zoom out. We can cut straight across here. And then we're going to go to here, okay? And I'm just going to make this shape, like this. I didn't do it in my original one, but I decided just to kind of take some shortcuts here. All right, now we got this front building. So let's start filling this. And so right now I've got all these paths. Let's zoom out a little bit. And let's bring up some picture reference here. So I've got these 4 pictures I like to select color off of. And I'm going to open these up in Photoshop. Okay, I don't know if those were going in or not. Let's try. Oh, I've drug it into another version of Photoshop. All right, we'll drag it into this version. Force click this version. Yeah, I had to download this latest version in order to do this video, or the earlier version, because like I said, it kept crashing on me, and it was every time I was moving those paths, and it would just have a hard time rendering that and recording that. So first of all, let's go in, and we're going to just color this building on this layer right here. And so let's start with this rectangle first, okay? And what we're going to do is we're just going to go over to our paths. It's a good idea to actually name this, or actually double click, because sometimes our work path will disappear. You can lose everything if you start drawing another set of paths at some point. So I'm just going to keep that there. We could call this, buildings. Okay, because we're going to do most of our buildings on this layer. But let's continue on. Let's grab this. We're going to hit this button right here. Okay, this is load path as a selection. And then I'm just going to pick a color from one of my pieces here, and I'll pick this just to start with, okay? Because I've got it already made, but I want to show you how to do this. All right, so I'm going to do Alt, Delete. Okay, there we go. All right, so we get that first side. Now let's come over here and get this one. Okay, and we're going to load this selection. And then we're going to pick a lighter color off this photo and do Alt, Delete. Okay, there we go. Very, very cool. Now, let's do the same for the top here. So we'll get this one, load this selection. We need this lighter color here, this kind of grayish color, and then we'll just do Alt Delete. Okay, now let's go and get this one, and I'm just using my selection tool each time. I have to use not this selection tool, but actually the path selection tool. Okay, and we can make that the direct selection tool if we need to. It's so easy to cycle through there. Anyway, let's just select that, pick this color here with our eyedropper, and then do Alt Delete. Okay, now we've got this one right here. Now I could have started with this one, but I want to go over how to manage your selections, because this I drew straight through here just to save time. And if we fill this with this darker color, of course, it will do that. Now I could just make another layer and put it up underneath, but I want to go over how we can subtract from a selection. So what I'm going to do is, let's go back to our selection tool. A is the keyboard shortcut, by the way. And I'm going to select this here. Make sure when you're doing this that this is set to combine. And we're going to go over some things here in just a moment. So when we make windows, all right, just make sure all these are set to combine because it works so much easier. I don't know how these are usually set to combine, but somehow they get turned off and they get turned to something else. So let's select all these. I'm crossing my fingers this works well. All right, and then hold down your Alt key when you click this button on your paths. Okay, so load path as a selection. Hold down the Alt key and this will pop up. This says subtract from selection. We click OK and see it subtracted all those, and now we've got that color. Now we can do Alt Delete and then we do Command D. And so this first building is done. And we see I can turn off my drawing and there we go. We've got a building. Okay, and we would just keep going and doing this. We'll do a couple more here because I want to show you how to do this. And so I'm going to just enlarge this a little bit. We'll zoom in here. I want to be able to get to my photographs to sample color off of. Now you could just sit here and do all your paths at once, or do some of your buildings and then color them. I'm just going straight through here because this wall is going to cover that. And this doesn't have to be straight there, okay? And so there's that. All right. Now, anytime we've got a line here, and what I'm going to do is, well, you know what? Let's do what I did last time. All right. I'm going to cycle out of this and go F so that I've got the full screen. We can get to these pictures when we need to in just a second. There we go. All right. Now, I noticed this mistake here. So we'll pull that over. Pull that over. Okay, great. Now, let's go and do... And by the way, your paths are kind of independent of your layers. And until you load a selection and fill it, that's when you really need to be on the correct layer. Okay? So let's go over here and let's select this line because we want these lines to at least correspond here. This will make my job easier. So we're going to copy this and paste it. Command C and then Command V. And we'll just paste that one line there. And then we're going to click on it and we're just going to go straight through here like this. Okay? And there we go. All right. Let's make another couple of buildings here. Let's make this building. This will be an easy one to do because it does not have a separate roof, separate structure there. Let's go through. All right. Again, let's click on this. Deselect if you have to, and then click on it, and then do Command C, Command V, and that will give you that line there. And then we can go from here. Click straight. We'll just hold down our Shift key and go down here. And there we go. Okay, now let's color these. And so let's hit F again. There we go. And then let's select. We'll start with this building here. So we'll load the selection. Okay, there we go. So let's load that selection. We can click off this for a moment. So we just see that. And then we'll pick a different color here for this one. And let's see here. We can pick maybe this. Let's see here. We got, yeah, maybe we'll get this darker color here or this one right here. We'll see what this looks like, okay? We'll do Alt Delete. Okay, it's very dark. All right, maybe we want a little bit lighter. So let's go to get maybe this color. Alt Delete. There we go. That's a good color. Now let's go back to our, oh, that changed that into work path. So let's make sure that these are actually, because that's the thing is sometimes in these, when you're working with your paths, you start building another path, they'll build another work path layer, and you don't want to lose that. So anyway, let's select that. Pick this color back in here. Oh, maybe this color. Try that one right there. Okay, and then do Alt Delete. Okay, and then we're gonna have to load this path here, but then we're gonna have to subtract from it. So I'm gonna click on this path and hold down my Alt key and load the selection, and then subtract from selection, okay? And then let's go get a, well, we can use the same darker color. I don't think it's going to hurt anything. There we go. There we go. So there. And now let's go to this building here. Oops. Load that up. And let's pick a different color for this building. So I'm going to pick this color. There we go. And then let's go and do this one right here. This, the front here. And pick this darker color. There we go. Now, let's take a look at it. We turn off our drawing, deselect, and so this is what I have all on this layer. Okay, oops, I made a mistake. I see a big mistake here. So let's go back here. All right, I was just working without even thinking. Sometimes that happens, you know. I think that happens to a lot of you guys because you're just kind of going through the motions. You're not really looking, and that's where we get into trouble. So if we have to, let's make another layer here, okay? And we'll do, I don't know, front 2, okay? Do that. Then look, we've already know what we want to put into this. So let's go over here, select this color, and do Alt Delete. There we go. That solves that issue, okay? And then we'll go over here, select this one, load the path, eyedropper. We'll get that color that we wanted there, and then we'll do Alt Delete, okay? And see, that is correct now, okay? And anyway, let me turn off this right here. We'll do Command D. All right, now, so let's turn off our drawing. If any of our, colors are too close, or if we want to change a color, like if we want to change this color here, we can either load the selection. That's one way to do it, okay? And therefore, we can change that color. And maybe we might pick something more like that and see what that looks like. Oops, we've got to be on the right layer, not on the right layer there. Okay, now the other thing we could do too is, I'm going to deselect this, because these are flat colors, we can always select with our magic wand, okay? So let's go over here, not to our quick selection tool, but go to the magic wand, okay? And what we want to do is make sure our tolerance is low, because if we're trying to select something, sometimes it will actually, well, actually it's not doing bad, but if it is selecting more than one value, then you want to lower the tolerance. And sometimes I go as low as 2. All right, so I just click that, and then we can just pick another color here. We'll pick a slightly lighter color and try it. All right, that didn't work, so we can just keep doing this until we, like that. Or you can just go in here manually if you want to. That's what I do sometimes when I just, we want to make that more cool. There we go. All right, because we can change these so quickly because they're flat colors. So anyway, that's how we're going to be building this. I actually have one already made to work to this level. So let's open it up. So this I have. So you'll see what I have made here. There we go. All right, so I actually have my sketch layer on top just to sort of help me see my windows, but you see all my flat shapes and the colors I've decided to use. I actually even painted in the grass, okay? And I made a curved path for this. So let me talk before we go too far here. Let's talk about if you need to do a curved path, okay? And I'll just simply draw a path, all right? And this path we're not going to use it all, but I just want to cover this because the pen tool works very similar to Illustrator with one exception. And that is when you want to go, let's say we wanted to go straight up. This is the problem. Well, in Illustrator, I would typically go back here, and that would kill this second handle, okay? Well, it's not doing it in Photoshop. I don't know why they don't have it the same, but you have to hold down the Alt key and click. And that's how we do we can actually change that path. All right, so see, I just want to go over that because I don't want anybody having to draw something and then they're running into difficulties with these curves and the fact that you can't kill that handle because you got to hold down that Alt key each time if you're going to kill that second handle. Okay, I just want to go over that. All right, so because that was the only curved path in all of this. All right, let's hit delete. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to make windows. Okay, so this is kind of like a recipe in cooking, in that what we're doing is we're starting off with the rough drawing, then we refine the drawing, and then we go in there and we correct it with the perspective pass, and then we do all of our flat shapes. We have to pin tool them all, but then we're going to start putting in the details. And so the simplest way to do these windows we'll make a new layer. Okay, so for these front buildings right here, so I got front. You can see how all these are kind of layered out. See, I did put that. I actually tiled that middle building. Okay, this is back building, and then this I didn't even title that one right there. So anyway, let me go in here, and we're gonna make a new layer right in front of this front building here, and we're not going to be needing it yet, but I like to have it there, and this will be for our window frames. Because we're going to do window frames, which is the outline around the window, and then we're going to do the actual glass part. And so if we're going to do this, easiest thing to do is just to make a window with the rectangle tool. Okay. Now the problem is I just made it in its pixels. It drew it. I want to make it so it's a path, so we can keep using it, loading selection. So before you do anything, make sure your path, this thing's going to be set to path. Okay, this rectangle tool. So now let's click and drag. We'll make a little window. We'll zoom in here so we can work closer. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I can copy this shape if I want to, and paste in front. Command C. Can't do paste in front. We have to do Command V with these paths. So you can't do Command F. It won't do anything for you. And then we'll do Command T, and we're going to just hold down the Alt key and make this a little smaller so that we're not drawing 4 rectangles. We're going to actually split this up. And so we're going to do another rectangle here going across. Okay. Now, if I want to make sure this rectangle is in the middle here, I'm going to select this rectangle and go up to here with my alignment and align it so that we do this. And see that will center that, okay? Now, what I can do is if I want, I'm going to actually copy this. Command C, Command V, and then I'm going to do Command T and rotate this shape. Okay. Now I could have just redrawn it, but if I'm wanting to make sure that the same width, I could do this. I'm actually going to make this a little, not as wide here. So, okay. All right. Now, we could load this selection later, but I would like these just to be separated. So here's what we're going to have to do here. All right. So I am going to subtract these, and Photoshop doesn't make it easy. They don't really have a pathfinders tool. So this path right here is set to combine shapes. Okay, we want to do that on our bottom path or our path for our big shape. Okay, now for this path here, it's set for exclude, but we're going to do subtract front shape, and we're going to do the same thing for this one here. Okay, go up here, subtract front shape. Now, let's select all these shapes together. And I'm crossing my fingers this works. It was working for me yesterday. We'll do Merge Shape Components. And say yes, and there it goes. Okay? That's how we can actually do that. I'll do it one more time later on, but you can watch that again. But what I'm going to do is, so we got to set those paths up right. It took me a long time to figure that out because, it's not like the paths palette, pathfinders in Illustrator. So what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to duplicate this. So what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to just start. I'm going to hold down my Alt key, drag it over, we'll duplicate it. There we go. Okay, and we can do the same thing again. Whoops, deselect here. Hold down the Alt key, start to move it, and then hold down the Shift key. Okay, you just got to kind of get used to that. All right, and we're going to position this. You know, I could try to align it, but I'm afraid if I do align it, let's see what happens. It's not going to do well. Okay, because I think we can do distribution. Yeah, let's see here. I think we can distribute these evenly. Okay. Let me just see what it does here. Yeah, it does all that. So that's why I'm having to eyeball this. Because it'd be different if I just had three rectangles. It would do a good job with that. It would align them and distribute them evenly. But since I've got these other rectangles inside, it doesn't know quite what to do. So that's why I'm having to actually kind of just look at it and make sure it looks even. Now I could just, if I want to, I can measure it out if I have to, okay? But I'm just going to do that for the moment. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these front windows here. And I'm just going to hold down my Alt key, drag these down here, hold down my Shift key while I'm doing that, and position them down lower, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing here. Oops. Hold down the Alt key first. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to duplicate this path here. So we're going to call this Windows or Windows 1 or whatever, because we'll probably be making more windows here. And what I like to do is, you know, we want to be able to use this one window. So what I'm going to do is, I'm doing this as a backup, because I may be using this window later on. I'm going to distort these. Before I do that, let's do Command C and make a new path here. This is one way you can always move a path to another path layer or whatever they call this. We'll do Command V. See it? I copied and pasted that. All right, so now I go to those. So before I do anything, we want to duplicate this, okay? Because I'm going to distort these, and once they're distorted, I can't do much else with this. So that's what I'm doing, another set here, and we're going to move all these over here. Okay, and so first of all, let's go here. All right, so I've got two sets of paths here. There we go. All right, now the reason why we needed our perspective is for this. We need our perspective lines up again, and see, I retitled those on that last version, but in this version they were already titled. We need to be able to see those. All right, and what we're going to simply do is this. We're going to take these paths, and then we're going to do Command T. So I select all those, and then I'm going to hold down my Command key, Control on PC, and we're just going to distort this and make sure that these lines are parallel with our guides. Okay, and that's all it takes. And if we have to, we can always move this out more. We want to enlarge these windows. Okay, see, I'm just holding the Command key as I'm doing all this. And once I get them in position, then I hit return and say yes, okay? All right, so before I color this other side here, let's color these. And so let's go down to here. This is window frames. And I'm going to select all these rectangles. There we go. Okay, now we got all those rectangles. We're going to load selection up for those. And let's pick a color for those right now. And we'll pick one of these colors. We'll zoom in here on this picture, or maybe this picture here. Actually, I'm going to go with the one that we were using. It'll make it easier. Okay, and we're going to pick a kind of a gray here. All right, go back to here, and make sure we're on this correct layer here. We're going to do Alt Delete, so that will fill them all with that one color. Okay, now we turn off our sketch so you can see that. We turn off all that. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to go back to these windows here, and then I'm going to make a new layer and call this, I don't know, window glass. So this is going to be the glass section of our windows. Okay. Then I'm going to go through and select all these. And then load the selection here. Make sure I'm on the right layer. And we'll just pick a color from one of these areas here. Alt delete. Now we can get into painting inside these later on, but since these are all on one layer, it's going to make our job easier. Okay. So now let's continue on. We'll move over here. Okay. I'm going to turn off these guides. Deselect. I'm going to go to this. Yeah. Okay. And then turn on the right perspective. Okay. Now it makes it easier because it's kind of hard to see both of these paths at once. And so that's why I actually colored that section first, because we want to make sure this section looks like it corresponds. And so we're going to select all these. Actually, let me see if I can do yeah, okay. I just did Command T. I didn't have to select them all because we're on one path right here, one set of paths. Okay, now let's just shrink. Whoops. I'm going to hold down my Shift key so I distort it. Get it in there like that. Okay. And then let's hold down our Command key. I'm letting off the Shift key. And then we're just going to skew this. So these top lines, first we're going to try to get these top lines corresponding here. I'm looking at this right here. Then we'll hold down our Command key and click on this one and drag up. Now I can hold down my Shift key, because what it's going to do is, I could go off here, but, if I hold down my Shift key, it'll do that. But first you got to hold down that Command key and start moving it. And this will correspond there. All right? Very easy. Say yes. Okay. Now let's go in here and select these rectangles. And we're going to color the window frames. Okay, so we're going to be on the window frame layer. Load that up. We can deselect that for a moment. Let's go over here and pick another, maybe this lighter color here. And we'll do Alt Delete. There we go. Whoops, we had one wrong one here, okay? So let me go in here, do Command D, or actually, let's do, yeah, Command Z. There we go. Now, something went awry here. I think, yeah, make sure. Okay, there we go. Now let's see. Let's load the selection again. There we go. Now do Alt Delete. Okay. Now let's go to our window glass layer, and let's go and select these, the glass portions. And then we load the selection. Okay. We can click off of the layer if we want to. It makes it. And then let's pick another color here. I'm going to pick like, maybe this lighter color. We'll see what this looks like, because we can always change these afterwards. Let me look at this photo here. Pull it up, pull it over here. Yeah, maybe I want that color. I don't know. We'll see what it looks like. We can always keep changing this later on. All right, there we go. Command D. All right, so now that's how we do our windows. And I actually got more windows. I'm going to, we can always make windows with our paths. We'll do another set here. But we're going to, so these windows are a little more simple. So this will be a lot quicker. But let's go and we'll just draw. And this will create another working path there, okay? And we'll just double click it and we'll go Windows 2 or something like that. Let's see. Window, not widow. Window 2. Okay. Then we're going to do Command C and Command V, and then so like we copied it, we pasted it. We're going to do Command T, and we're just going to hold down our Alt key, and we can hold down our Shift too. But see, that's what happens. It's in proportion. We need to alter this so that this will be inside like that. Okay, we'll move this. I'm gonna hold down my. I'll hold down my shift key so I can distort it like that. There we go. Okay, now so I held down my shift key right there. Now we can go in and get the rectangle and draw another line that's going to go across this way. Okay, and again, let's zoom in here. Okay, so let's see. We're going to subtract again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. That is set to combine. This is, they always have this, I guess it goes to the next shape you draw. It goes to that. So we want to go to subtract front shape. Okay, so now these are, so we're going to select both of these shapes here. And then we're going to go to merge shape components. We click, and we can, if we want to get rid of that, we can say don't show again, by the way. And therefore we get our window. Okay? And what I usually like to do is I will copy this window, because if I ever need to use that design again, because I'm going to distort these. I'm going to multiply these, duplicate them, and so I'm going to simply start. I'm going to hold down my Alt key and move this over here. Whoa! I'm sure I'm not moving anything else over there. It just did that. Okay. And so hold on your Alt key and start moving this one over. I don't know why it's moving that thing over there. We'll find out in just a second, I'm sure. But I don't think it moved anything. Okay. It's just how it displayed it. All right, we'll take these. Hold down my Alt key. Oops. Hold down my Alt key first. There we go. All right. So you get a plus sign, and then you move. I don't know why it's doing that over there. Maybe it's looking at something. It's measuring something. If that's the case, we can always turn that off. But I'm just paying attention to my paths, because I don't think it did not move these, because these are on a different layer. Okay. So now, again, let's go in here. We'll turn off our right perspective. We'll turn on our left perspective. And if we're having a hard time seeing it because of the color we have there, let's see here. Yeah, maybe that might help. But you can always play around with this, and we can change this. Yeah, see, we go to screen perhaps, because this is on a different layer. It'll make it easier, okay? That's why it's good to have your guides on different layers, because you might need to change those colors. All right, let's go and we'll distort these windows. All right, so let's do Command T. And let's actually hold down our Command key and just bring this up. We'll hold down the Shift key too, so I'll keep it straight. But first you hold down the Command key and move it, all right? And this, I don't think I need to move this at all, really. This looks okay, all right? So anyway, we hit Return, and then we will select these big rectangles. And then we'll select a color. If we want to, we can select this same color, or maybe we might select this color. Okay. Anyway, before we do that, we got to load the selection, and let's go to our window frames layer, because this is where all my window frames are for all those, for these buildings in the front. Okay. And so we'll do Alt Delete. That'll fill that. Okay. And then we go up to our glass layer. Let's go to our Windows 2, and then get our selection tool. A is a keyboard shortcut for the selection tool. We click these. Okay. We load the selection to this. If we want to use the same color, we can. I'm just going to do that to save time here. All right. And Command D. And so that's how we make windows like that. Okay. Now I made some rounded windows. You can always play around with those. So I'm going to make a rounded window just to show you. I don't even have, there's hardly any indication of windows on that building. But what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to make another type of window from our paths, and then we'll move on to making windows with brushes. So let's start with the rectangle. So I was going to, one of the windows I designed had an arc to it. And so what I did was I just took a rectangle, and then I took a circle. I'm just kind of trying to make it the right size here. All right. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to move this up. And we'll zoom in here. And we have to do Command T to kind of move it in a little bit. Okay. Hold down my Shift key. So, yeah, there we go. All right, good. Hit return on that. Now, I'm going to copy this. Command C, Command V, paste it, and Command T. We're going to make that a little smaller here, okay? Right, there we go. Now, hit return. Okay, so one of the first things I'm going to do is we are going to subtract this if possible, and let me see here what we can do here. Well, first thing we'll do is we'll combine. That'll make my job easiest, because we can make another line to subtract from. So we'll take this rectangle and this circle. Make sure, before I do that, see, that needs to be set to combine. You know, let's make sure that's set to combine and that's set to combine. Because I'm going to combine these two shapes. All right, and we're going to go here and we're going to merge shape components, and there we go. Okay, now I do have to make another rectangle, and this did two little things here. Oops, zoom in here. We can see what we can do here. We could always just do little edits here. I'm going to just move this. There we go. That's the easiest edit to make. Okay, now let me make a rectangle here. And we'll just cut it across here. Okay, and we want this rectangle to be set to subtract front shape. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this again, so we can go through this. This needs to be set to combine. Then we select both of these, and then we just hit merge shape components, and it will do that. Okay, it took me forever to figure out and learn that, because it keeps changing each time. And so now if we're going to do these, we'll just draw a rectangle. We don't have to copy a rectangle. We don't have a rectangle to copy. All right, so we'll make that shape. We'll make, maybe it's going to be simple. Maybe we don't have 4 windows, or maybe it's more complicated. Let's do that one, and then we'll select both of these and make sure that this is aligned correctly. So we're going to align it. There we go. That center aligns it. All right. Now let's do another one here. And mind you, last time I copied and pasted. This time I'm not going to do that. This time I'm going to draw this one. Make this a little smaller here. And then we're going to select these two shapes and do the same thing here. So we'll move that over. There we go. Okay. And if we want to, okay, so I'm going to cut these. So again, we got to go and make sure that is set to combine. This has to be set to, okay, that's set to subtract from shape area. So I don't know, okay, why this sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't. That's why I always have to go up there and check. So let's select those shapes here, select that, and then we're going to do merge shape components. All right, and that's how we can make a window that has an arc on it. And then I would want that one to be, let's say, just title it something. Because if I'm going to use this, then I would make a copy of it. Therefore, I can go back to the original. Because anytime we start distorting, it's hard to get them back right if we're going to use this again somewhere else. That's why I have 2 of these, okay? And that's why I did this to these over here, okay? All right, so anyway, let me get on here, because what I want to do is I'm not even going to use that window. I just wanted to draw that for you to show you how to do that. You'll see it in my finished version, or at least one of the other flat versions I have coming up. But I am going to go over how to make a different type of window, not with our paths, but with our brushes. And so what we're going to need here is we're going to need a square brush. Okay? Now, I don't have my legacy brushes loaded, so we're just going to have to go over here and go to, on our brush palette, we're going to click on that little icon, by the way, this one right here, and we're going to go to legacy brushes. We'll say OK. Then we're going to look for the square brushes. There they are. And we're just going to pick one of the bigger ones here. Okay. And I'm going to make this really big here. Now we can shape this. Now the one that I made for my finished one, I had these squarish windows, but we can go in here, and if we want the window to be a little bit more rectangular, we can do this, but we're gonna have to rotate it, okay? If we want it to be, see that right there, okay? We just want that to be set 90 degrees, or right now it's negative 90. All right, so if I want to pinch it a little bit more, I can pinch it, okay? Now what I'm going to do is, we're going to make a new layer. We'll call this, I don't know, my window brush layer or whatever, just so that we separate this out, because we're going to actually have to paint. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, I want to paint a row of windows and make that into a brush. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to space this out, and then I'm going to click, and we got to make sure that we're going to use black, so 100% black. So it's going to be, our opacity on our brush is going to be set to 100, our flow is set to 100, and we're going to use black as the color, and we're going to just drag across here, and see that, and make 3 windows. Now if we want to space out a little bit more, we can space out a little bit more like this. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to make 3 windows here. I'm just playing around with the spacing here. That's too much. Okay. So the deal is, I'm going to just live with that. I'm fine with that. But, if we were going to go down and keep doing this, then it's, we're going to have to align that, maybe use a guide. But I'm going to make a brush out of that. So what I'm going to do is, and this is what you have to do in order to make a brush, is you got to select this, and we're on this window brush layer, by the way. And before we do anything, if you try to define this as a brush, it's going to be a little unusual. So let's go to Edit, and let's go to Define Brush Preset and see what it looks like. And see, now you don't know this, but you'll see the difference here. So I'm going to cancel out of that. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to select each individual rectangle simply by, we'll go to our selection tool. V is the keyboard shortcut, if you see it jumped up here, and not the path selection tool, but this, well, they call it move tool. Okay, so we'll take that, and then we're going to use one of our arrows on our keyboard, and when we move it, it just wraps around that. Okay, now let's go to Edit and to Find Brush Preset, and you're going to see, see that it looks different. So this is going to be our brush. So this will be, let's say, square windows, even though they're more rectangular. All right, now, as soon as we do that, we'll have a new brush. We're going to hit delete. Whoops, make sure we're on the right layer here. We're going to hit delete. I should have done that. I don't know why it's not hitting. There we go. Okay, so I deleted that. Command D. Okay, oops. Yeah, well, I'm used to the other. I had a different version of Illustrator. So let's go back here. Delete. I think we're going to have to actually erase out. All right, so I'm going to get my selection tool, my rectangle selection tool, and just delete that. Okay, we want it clean. Now let's get our brush, and this brush, by the way, in our brushes is going to be at the very bottom here. So see, it's square window brushes, and if we close up our square brushes, we close up our legacy, this will be independent of any other brush right now. So as we build new brushes, this is where they get placed. Okay. So what we're going to do though is this. I wanted to make these into a brush because I want to space these out. And once I space these out, then I can do. Whoops, it's not spaced out enough. Then I can do that. And I can make row of windows like that. Okay, and what we might do is we actually might want to change the color of that, but we can do that afterwards. Okay, and we'll do another row right here. Whoops! Don't hold down the shift key like I did. There we go. All right, so we've got two sets of windows here, and what I'm going to do is first thing is let's go over to our layers palette. Okay, and let's lock the pixels for the moment. And let's get our rectangle selection tool, our rectangle marquee. All right, let's pick a color for these windows. All right, I'm going to choose a different photograph. Maybe we'll choose, I'm kind of liking this color here, this teal. Okay, and let's go back over here and we'll hit Alt Delete. Now, mind you, because now if my pixel lock was not on and I did this, it would do this. Okay, but we want that on, and this is what we and so therefore that's why I have my pixel lock on, because that's a quick way to color those. All right, so let's move our marquee over here. I'm just move it over here like this, or we can just reselect. Let me move this over a little bit so we can get to this. Close the properties, and those will probably pop back up anyway. But let's move that over and let's pick a lighter color off of this, and we'll pick maybe this color, and let's see what this will look like. I'll delete. Okay, there we go. Sorry. So we've got two different sets of colors there, and the thing is about these windows is I'm not, if I want to, I could make this and then duplicate this layer and then distort them in case I want to use them over again. But mind you, I've got a brush. Before we do anything else here, I am going to make a new brush, and I want lines going across these. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I am going to use, and we're going to just do this on the same layer. We're going to go and use our line tool. Whenever we make a brush, if we want it to be our brush to have 100% flow and opacity and it be solid, we should use black. Okay, just drag this right across here. All right, I'm going to up the pixels maybe to, so I'm drawing with the line tool. I'm going to make a brush out of it. We'll go up to 9 and just see what it looks like. You can zoom in there if you need to. All right, now I'm drawing a path. So we'll undo that. What we want to do is we want to set this to pixels. So I'm going to draw a line. Oops. I don't know where it went to. Oh, because it's locked. So I'm going to unlock the pixels here for the moment. So I'm going to just simply do this. I'm going to draw a line going across like this. All right. Because I tried to make this type of brush with the rectangle, but I could never get it to work. So that's why I'm doing this. So first we draw the line. Then we select around it with our marquee tool. And then we toggle with our arrow tool, so it will actually select that. It should select that. Something's going on here. Oh, let's go to our selection tool. I'm going to go to the selection tool. There we go. So I hit the V key. Okay, I had to change to the V key and then hit the arrow to have that selected. Now, of course, you could use your magic wand too. All right, so now let's go and define brush preset. I don't know. Call this window line. Keep it. There we go. Oh. There we go. All right. Keep spelling widow. All right. Now, let's go and we're going to hit delete on that. So it deleted that. And there should be no remnant of that. But see this? This is a brush now. I just made a new brush like that. Okay. Now, let's go back in here now. All right. And I deleted that line. We're going to paint with this. We're going to lock these pixels again. And let's pick a lighter color here. Let's pick, I don't know, maybe the sky color right now for this side. All right, go back to our brush, and we're going to have to space this out. So we're going to go to our brush settings, and we're going to space this out. And let's see what this looks like. All right, I get that. I don't want that. Command Z. I think I got to go way up here. I'm going to go to 590 for the spacing and just see. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. I like that. I'm gonna go all the way to 6. Actually, we'll 6, and we could type in here if we want to. 650. Let's try that. Okay, and we'll undo what we just did there, and then hold down. Now, when I'm drawing this, I'm just drawing this over the Shift key. Okay, you can start here. Yeah, kind of like that. Not bad. Let's adjust the setting. Let's go to 620 and try this. That looks. I could probably live with that. I can get very picky here, but I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna go higher. I'm gonna go up to 670 for our spacing and see if we can get something a little bit better there. All right, it's not bad. I could probably live with that. Okay, I'm looking at it. I'm gonna just redraw it again. Let me think here for just one second. I think what we're going to do is, if we space it out just a little bit more, Command Z, and then hold down my Shift key. Not bad. I'll just keep playing around with this. All right, so let's go to 700. Okay, Command Z, and then let's paint over it again. Kind of like that. That's close. It's that bottom line there. Let's see what we can do here. All right, it's almost. Let's hit 720. I know I was close to that before, but let's try it again. Make sure we're on this right here. Oops. So sometimes it just takes a little maneuvering here. Almost. Let's see. It starts to. All right. So I'm not. Like I said, I'm just keep playing around with this. That's set at 5. I'll set this for 750. Okay. When I was doing this last night, I just set it once. And it was perfect. Oh, there we go. That's it. That's what I needed. Because I'm looking at every window here, and they don't look too bad there. Okay. I think we could live with that. We'll do it one more time here. It's always that one other time you do it that gets you to trouble. Almost. I saw a double line that I didn't like, and that's why I'm doing it again. I wonder if I start from here. There we go. That was it. Okay, got it. So let's go over to this side here. And then we'll do the same thing. We're going to start here. Whoops. Don't hold down the Shift key until you start dragging. There we go. Now that's much better. Okay. Now I got those window frames going that way. Now we need to turn this. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make another brush. And we'll do it on the same layer again. So what I'm going to do is unlock the pixels. Get our brush, get our line tool here. We've got to come over here. U is a keyboard shortcut. Because I've got this long brush. It was hard to get to. All right, so now let me just make, and every time we make a brush, set your foreground color to black. And then I'm just drawing a line. So you could paint, and you can paint a shape and make it into a brush. You can do, that's how we can make brushes. You can select things that, and make them into brushes. But what we're going to do is we're going to take this line and we're going to get this again. All right, so I selected over that. Go to the V key. So that's the move tool. And then we're going to hit toggle one of those. And there we go. Now, let us define this as another brush. So we'll call this vertical window lines. Okay, there we go. Then we can go and hit delete. Deleted that. All right, I'm going to turn off that. I don't need my perspective on right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I see I got some weird lines there because obviously I didn't. I did something there, but we'll live with that. Anyway, what I'm going to do is now let's space these lines out. So let's go to our brush settings. We'll space these lines out. Let's see how far we have to space them out. We'll get this color here. All right, we'll go back to our brush. Whoa, that's kind of cool, but look, I want it spaced more. We'll get all the way, yeah. 405, we'll try that. I'm just going to go straight across here. Whoa! Now we got to lock the pixels. That's what you need to do. Whenever you're painting these, you got to lock your pixels. So I've locked my pixels, and now we're going to go across. Well, that's nice. That's not bad. I could probably live with that. Although those are off over there. So let's go again, and we'll go up and just see if that will help us. Almost. That's kind of cool. I think we're going to probably just go with that for the moment. But anyway, that's how we make our windows. So now we painted those. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this set of windows, get our V key. Okay, so that's our move tool. And then we're going to toggle. We'll get that. Now let's bring up our left guides so we can see where these need to go. So we just do Command T. Oh, it's got the whole thing. Let me do this. I think we're gonna, yeah. Let's try this again. Oh, let's unlock this. Command T. Oh. One of the reasons was I had one of the paths on. So let me go back here. Command T again. There we go, finally. All right, now we just hold down our Command key and click on this corner and pull it down. Okay? And then we just want to check here to see, this just needs to go down just a little bit more here. Okay? And there's that. Now let's move this back here, okay? All right, so that's going to be for that. Now we'll do Command D, and then we'll get our marquee tool again. M is a keyboard shortcut for this. Okay? We'll go to V for the move tool, and then we use our arrow key, and it will select it. And then let's bring up our right perspective. Okay? And we're going to do Command T. First thing I'm going to do is shorten them. Whoop. Hold down my Shift key when I'm doing this, because we want to distort so it fits in that rectangle. Now we hold down our Command key and start moving this down, and then hold down our Shift key so that we'll keep it straight. Okay, so we've got to first hold on Command key and start moving before we do this. Okay, and then we're going to move this, so I'm going to let off the Shift key, move this down, hold down my Shift key now so it constrains it, and we're just making sure that those correspond right. And then let's turn off all of our perspective and Command D, and that's how we can make those windows right there. Now I'm going to make another set of windows. We're going to make a set of glass windows, okay? So those kind of look like, bars. I wanted this building to look like one of those old warehouse buildings. That's why I have those window frames like that. But anyway, let me go over here, and we're going to make another set of windows, like another layer here. We'll call this glass window, like one of those modern buildings, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to go to our brushes, and we're going to take our square brush, okay? Not this one. We're going to go to our regular square brushes. So we're going to go under our legacy brushes again. We're going to get a square brush, all right? And we're going to make it large. Because really you could just pick any of these square brushes, because you're going to just make it large. Then we're going to go to our brush settings. And so this is how we can make a kind of a glass building. We're going to just move that over. Come on. Over there like that. Make sure that's 90 or negative 90. Make these a little smaller. And then let's space it out. Okay. And we're just going to go this way. There we go. That's good. Now, here's the problem. We got to use black. So every time we make, because we're going to be making a brush here, we want the foreground color to be black. So I'm going to hit D, the D key for default. And then we're going to click and drag again. There we go. All right. So we're going to use that. And then we're going to take and select over it with our marquee tool. And then hit the V key for the move tool and toggle. And then we're going to find this and make a new brush. Edit, define brush preset, and this will be called glass windows. Okay. Then we'll hit delete. Okay. Now we've got this window brush. Now we're going to space it out. And we're going to pick a lighter color here. So I'll pick a bluish color. Let's see here. Okay. Ooh, maybe I want, I don't want purple. Well, let me just pick this color right here of this sky. And I just want a different blue than our background, so it's a little different. Ooh, okay, now let's move the spacing in a little bit more on this. There we go. All right, so this is how we make a more modern looking building. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Whoa, whoa. Don't hold down that shift key. Okay. Line that up. All right. Now, yeah, those are pretty close in value there. So let me go, and you know what? I like this color. Let's go to this richer blue here. All right. See, once we've got our brush set, this is so easy to do. And so I'm going to pick a slightly lighter color here. Hopefully that we can see it. We'll see. I know that you're probably thinking this is too close. That's fine. I can see that. All right. And what we're going to do is, first of all, let's bring up. So we're on our glass window layer. Let's bring up our left perspective so we can see it. Let's get our marquee tool and select around these blue windows. Okay. And then get to our move tool, which is V, and then toggle with the arrow, and we got all those. Now we do Command T, and I'm going to have to go up. So let's hit the F key here. Oh, can't do that. All right. Let me hit the F key. There we go. And the F key will give us full screen. Now let's do Command T. Because what I want to do is this. I'm going to hold down my Command key and go up this way. Right. And we're looking to see if that aligns correctly. And hopefully you can see those guides. If you're not, let's undo. Let me just undo this because I'm having a little trouble seeing. I don't know how this will record. So let's go and change this to multiply so we can see those, okay? All right, now let's go back to this glass window layer. We'll do Command T again. And let's go up this time. And hold down our Shift key after we get started moving. And we just want to make sure that these will correspond like this, okay? And then we're going to have to move this up just a little bit like this. Okay. Now we hit return, okay? Command D, and then we go over to this side. Now, if there's too many windows, we can always just select these, let's say, and hit delete. Okay? And then we'll take these windows, and we'll do Command, well, first of all, we'll do V and move, and then we'll do Command T. And then we're going to go, well, first of all, before we do anything, let's turn off this. Well, we can just, let's go and turn on our right perspective. There we go. So these are going to be extremely distorted. All right, so we're going to do Command T, hold on the Command key, go way up here. So these are going to be way distorted. All right, we keep going up. And then we're going to take this and have to go up too. Hold on your Shift key. And I'm trying to get those to line up. Right, this is going to have to go down a little bit more. Hold down Shift key. But first, we're going to get it going perspective, and then, well, let's distort it. Let's distort it, and then we can play around with it a little bit more here. Okay. All right, going to move that in like this. Okay. And I think it's just about really on the money there, except for this right here. So I'm going to go down a little bit more like that. There we go. All right. Now, let's move this layer in front of this back building like that and do Command D, and then turn off all my guides, and you will see what we got here. Okay? So see, that's how we can get a glass building. All right, now I've got some weird things going on because I obviously turned off one of our buildings, but that's okay because I want to get moving on here. That's something weird happened there. Anyway, let me hit the F key so we can cycle through and be able to get to our next one here. And so that was Cityscape Flats. I have another one where all my windows have been painted. Okay? So once you get all your windows done, you're almost done. You just got to do a little painting here. So this is with all my windows done, okay? And you can see the choices I made with the colors. And I actually had a mistake go on where I didn't space them out evenly enough, but I got this line. I liked it, so I kept it. So what we want to do is we want to start adding some texture to this. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to use our square brushes to make bricks, okay? So let's go to our wall, okay? We're going to load up, we're going to use our magic wand here so we can select that, okay? And then let me go and get my brush tool. Now I've got these window brushes, but really I just want a square brush. Okay, space it out, pinch it, so it's like that. Let's make it large so we can see now. All right, make it so maybe that size, okay? Now what I'm going to do is let's go around and scatter this square brush. I'm going to keep the count about there, okay? And then let's just pick this color. I'm holding down my Alt key because I've got my brush tool. So my Alt key will toggle to the eyedropper. So I'm going to pick that color, and then I'm going to do multiply. And then I'm going to lower my opacity to 20. And let's just paint over this, okay? Right now, I've been using my mouse for just about everything. I'm finally using my... Okay. Let's decrease the scatter. And then maybe increase the count. I'm just playing around here. Let's do both axes and let's see what that does. Okay. We'll lower the count. There we go. So I'm just going to put some random. Now, here's the deal. Because I'm painting with multiply, if I happen to go over another one here, it's going to make it darker. Like that. And so what I want to do is, once I get my color I like, if I want to keep adding bricks here, we'll just pick this color and then turn our multiply to normal. And then turn our opacity to 100 again. And therefore, so I can just sort of, and we don't need too many of these. We just want to kind of hint at this. Okay. There we go. And let's say that that's going to be, and we can also take the scattering off and just kind of randomly put these in where we want to. We can also go and get this brush. I mean, not, what I did was I selected this color, and we can always kind of, you know, maybe paint one of these out. You know, just play around here. Okay, and then paint one of these back in here. Just move these around a little bit, you know. Yeah. So that's kind of how we're going to make our bricks here, okay? And so, let me, I'm thinking about something here for just a second. Let me get my spacing. I'm going to go back here. All right. So let me go and do this. I'm thinking about, I'm just going to try something for a second. I don't know if it's going to work, but it just kind of came to me. Okay. Hit the scatter. Hold on my shift key. Oh, that's because I don't have that color. Alright, let me go and get this multiply again. And 20%. I should have kept that color. That's not bad. Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm just holding on my shift key, but no, I want to take the scatter off. Let's see what I get. So I can get those like that. I'm just playing around. Usually I just go to town painting, but so that's kind of cool like that. If we want to offset that so that these, and so we can just put a spare one there. Anyway, this is how we're going to make our all this. And so I'm going to go and do a little bit more here. I'm going to pick this one up and then use the same brush here. And, you know, I'm just going to put in some rectangles here and there. Okay, now let's pick this color here. And let's pick this color there. Go back to our brush. Let's turn off multiply on it. And set this opacity, maybe 35. And then we can rotate our brush a little bit if we need to. We're going to scatter it. And just, okay. Take the scattering off for a moment, just so I can just click. There we go. Alright, Command D. Alright, so see, that starts to get this kind of brick texture. And what we're going to be going for is, let's go back to, I mean, now I did this brick wall, but let's go to this one here. Alright, and we're going to set this to multiply. Set this down to 20%. Opacity, come on, come on, come on. Alright, 19's good. Alright. We got rotated, but let's try to rotate it in the direction of the lines a little bit. We can't do these in perspective, but we can play around with this. Now, let's do that, and then let's scatter and just, whoops, we're on the wrong layer here. we're going to go back to this front building layer. We'll get our magic wand to select just that, and then go back to our brush. And then we can just sort of randomly paint in quickly here all of that. Okay, I had to close my door there. The wind opened it, so I didn't want to let my cats out by mistake. So I'm just going to, oops. Now, once we get the color again, let me go back here. Once I do this, I'm going to just do this, and then let's sample this color, set this back to normal, set opacity up to 100, and therefore we can paint with this. Okay, and let me play around with our, let's go back to our brush settings here, and maybe we won't space out so much, so let's see. Yeah, there we go. So we can get some nice kind of brick looking buildings with just simply using a square brush that's been set to scatter. And so let's go over to this side here. We'll do the same thing. Actually, you know what? Let's sample this color and see. That's too dark. Right. So we're going to actually, let's lower the opacity of that color. Yeah, I like that color. Okay. And then let's rotate the brush a little bit like this. Yeah, okay. Now, I just undid that because I was not liking how much that's rotating, but that's not bad like that. And then if we're going to paint again with it, sample the color, go back up to 100%, so we can add a few more. And when you do enough of this, I had a lot there, but then I'm going to go back in with this other color just to kind of break it up. You know, it will start to look like brick. Okay. So anyway, that's what I'm doing for these. And then we can actually paint inside our windows too, okay? So let's do Command D here, and we'll paint inside our windows. So that's how we can do that. I'm going to bring this up, and you'll see what it looks like finished in just a second here. But let's go in. We'll get a round brush for our windows. And I'm just going to get a simple round brush, and we're going to, there we go. Now let's go and go to our windows layer. So this is where we want to be at. We want to lock the pixels if we're going to be painting in our windows. And let's look at some pictures here of windows and see what they've done with them. Okay, these have blinds. I can do that if I want to do blinds. Okay, this is a picture. These are digital paintings. And there was another one here. Yeah, that one. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to go and pick off maybe, let me get my brush here. I'm going to pick a lighter color in here, lighter grayish color. And actually, you know what? I want a darker one. You know what? I'm going to do this lighter gray color. Oh, that's nice. Okay, because imagine you got windows here. That's what I'm actually painting right now. Is I'm painting windows and curtains. That is. Okay. I said I was painting windows. I already had the windows. That's just been a long ordeal to get this video put together because of all the times it crashed. All right, so now we got that. Now we can actually go and let's choose a darker color here. I'm going to choose this color. Make our brush. Now I'm going to start painting with lower opacity here. I'm going to lower it down to 30. And make our brushes a little bit smaller. And then I just sampled what I just painted, so now I'm painting with this. I'm using just a hard round brush because I don't want it super soft. Plus I can put in, see I can put these shadows in like this because this window frame would actually kind of produce a shadow going across these curtains. More like that. Okay, so that's those curtains. Now let's go over here to this one, and I like this dark color for the inside. So let's just see what we get here. I'm thinking of doing blinds on this one. Now make my brush a little smaller, raise my opacity, and I'll go up to 50. Yeah, there we go. See, we can just quickly do some blinds like that. Maybe not all of our blinds are, maybe some of them are open. You can always sample this color and go back again. That, since we know what we're sampling from, it makes it easier to just sort of. And see, the thing is, you got to remember, I've locked the pixel so I can just go right over all of this and make this brush a little smaller. We'll zoom in here so we can see, but I kind of like being zoomed out because it just makes my job a little easier to see the whole thing and not be so zoomed in. And so I'm putting these shadows in that the window frames are causing, okay? And that really makes it look a lot more realistic. Just that little bit right there. Okay? Okay, we'll do the same thing down here. Make my brush a little larger so it goes faster. Make it smaller for this though. And then painting this shadow really is so key here. That's what brings it out. Okay, so let's zoom out here and you see what I've done. Now let me open up the one that I had finished. And you'll see everything that has been done to it. You can see how everything comes together. There we go. So that's my finished one. Okay? So you can see how I'm using all the square brush for all the bricks. It really kind of helps to give that texture, okay? And then you can see all the shading I did in here. The great thing about doing glass windows is, if we're painting inside a glass window, let's go back over to this one right here, and let's go to that window there. Here's this glass window. There we go. Okay. So as long as those pixels are locked, if we're going to paint clouds in there, we could just go to our concept brushes, and let me open this up so we can see our clouds. And we're just going to pick I don't know, pick these clouds right here. Okay. And then we're going to use white to paint with. And there we go. Not crazy about those clouds, so I'm going to undo that. Thought I would like those, but let's use the cotton cloud, or let's use these chunky ones, see what this looks like. Ooh. And if this is the case, if we've got clouds in our buildings, then we want clouds in our background, in our sky, and we don't have to really worry about it too much. But you can see it'll start to look. This will start to look like a glass building that has reflections in it. Okay, and if I'm going to do anything like I did here, this was very easy to do, because what I did was, let me go in here and select this. Let me see if I can find those. That's that one. That's this one. Okay, so let me zoom in here, and I'll show you how I actually changed these. Now, I started off with these dark frames, so I'm going to go in and select these. Right, that gets that. Or I'm going to lower my tolerance. I'm at 32. I'm going to lower it down to 2. And let's take off contiguous. All right, now I got those selected. I was trying to select the frame because I was wanting to change the color, but why do that? And what I'm going to do is, let's go and get a square brush. Okay, and we'll take off the scattering on it. We'll take off the spacing. Well, you know, we can actually just have it straight up and down like this. And we'll tighten it up just a little bit there. And what I'm going to do is, let me zoom out. It's best to paint this zoomed out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of the sky color here and lower our opacity down to maybe 40. Hit Command H, hide extras, right? So we won't see those lines, but see, we're just going to start to, and actually some of the, yeah, see that starts to look, it's so easy because some of this starts to look like reflections of other buildings, the original color. That's how we can get and paint our glass building. So if we're going to do it over here, let's go to this one right here and do the same thing here. And I'm just going to be through in just a second, but let me see here. Yeah, there we go. Do Command H. Get our brush. We'll pick, and let's lower the opacity a little bit more down to maybe 20, and then just start kind of painting. I'm just painting really loose, real quick. But see, some of this I'm like leaving some of these, so it starts to look like reflections of buildings in the background. You know, if I want to, I can pick this color again and just maybe paint in another. Maybe we've got this building here with this color here. There we go. And then we could always paint with white a little bit. That's how we can do our glass in the back here, okay? So where we don't see curtains. All right, and so you can see how I did all that. Okay, I know it doesn't turn out as good, but that's because I spent longer on this one. Anyway, that should end our tutorial.